a conspiracy theory for my boy Jason Cole. And I am demanding justice from Jason Cole on this. Before I bring him in, now I know why the tampering was kept at a low simmer between the league, the Eagles, and the Cardinals. Before we do that, though, please make sure, go to Amazon. One day Jason will write a book. No, maybe he won't. But Jason, again, has written so many great books. Let's bring him up now. Our friend Jason. Right. At first, I wanted you to. I think we're going to pass. I wanted you years ago. I think it would be interesting, but I don't think
it's a thing. It's a thing about a thing, and you don't want to talk about the thing that could be that thing. That the other
this guy
thing
knows so much about me, man, that if I met him, I might have to kill him.
Right, and that's why I'm writing that thing about that.
Okay, we're done there. Right. I want to throw something at you here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know the tampering charge, and wait a minute, the NFL admitted to tampering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jason, why doesn't a guy who put $100 or $1,000 on the Super Bowl go back and sue the league for fraud when the fact that, and by the way, I'm not saying his interviewing the day before, he got the job right after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Monday.
All right. Whoa.
Hold on. Let me finish here. Hang on. You're telling me that these bettors who look at what people eat, going out at night, what kind of week you had, you're telling me that I would put the money wouldn't move and the line wouldn't move, which was 1.5, that if I found out that a guy was making bets, I'm having an interview the day before the Super Bowl or 2 days before the Super Bowl during Super Bowl week where the league admitted to fraud and the fact of tampering.
No. They admitted to tampering. Tampering is not fraud. Okay,
It's a fraudulent comment when they. Hey, wait a minute. You had a rule. You broke it.
Okay, so what? It's like.
Would you bet on a team? See, would you bet on a team?
If you bet on sports, you get to take full responsibility for your bad decisions. Sorry. The league is not responsible to protect your bet. That is not what they do. Sorry. Okay.
So you don't.
I also, I'm sorry. The Church of Gambling needs protection from the state. And oh my God, here we go. Like, sorry, you don't have an aggrieved party that I feel sorry for. Okay. Yes, I understand gambling is part of the game. The NFL understands gambling is part of the game. They are in bed with gambling as part of what their wagering is. They do, daily fantasy and all those kinds of things, right? But, I'm sorry, if Galen gets a phone call the day before the game or 2 days before the game because, the Cardinals GM wants to ask him some questions about what's going on or they're doing whatever they're going to do, that's really a problem between the two teams, okay? It's not a problem between the league and the gamblers because the league is not responsible to oversee everybody's phone calls.
Well, then why does the league put out an injury report every Thursday? That's for the gamblers.
Because they do that for the gamblers because they want to make sure that they do their best, okay, to control something that they know is going to get out. Okay, and so that everybody knows everybody's information equally, okay? Because what they don't want is they don't want somebody going out and paying a ton of money under the table to trainers to get that information. It does still happen, okay? There are plenty of trainers who are making cash on the side. I'm not talking about head trainers, but there are, low-paid guys on every team that are susceptible, okay, to having bettors, gamblers, guys like Billy Walters is probably the greatest one of all time, right? and I'm sure that there are low-paid people on every team who gamblers are trying to find out whatever information they can from those people. Okay, that happens. I know for a fact that happens. The NFL tries to safeguard that as much as it humanly can. But stuff is going to leak out. Stuff's going to get out. That's the way it is. And that's why they do their best with the injury reports to say, okay, we have this kind of model so that we can get injury information out to the public because they want to know, and we're giving out doing it in the best way we possibly can. And obviously different teams don't like doing it, don't putting it out there and make a farce out of it like the Patriots do, and occasional other teams. But the league's doing the best they can. That's all they can. And as far as a phone call from the GM to a defensive coordinator or whoever it happens to be,
Super Bowl week.
Okay, it happened. Hey, you know what? Parcells during Super Bowl week, famously, when he was coaching for the Patriots, was on the phone with the Jets all week, affirmatively, him calling them, right? Patriots, Packers, Super Bowl week. He was on the phone calling to them, and better yet, he charged all the phone calls to the Patriots because he did it on the hotel phone. Okay? All right? That's the best part about it. He hung the Patriots out to dry on the bill. Okay? That's tampering. Okay? Stuff like this happens. Did it get in the way of some decision that happened in the game? I don't know. But
if you're doing a job interview during the Super Bowl week,
okay, I'm sorry. It's just I'm not taking this that seriously. You can make a Supreme Court case out of this and argue it on you can argue this on behalf of the Navajo Nation needing water rights. I'm just not doing this. Okay, I'm not, and I am not giving any kind of compassion to people who put hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars down on a game. Sorry, you're bad.
Well, the NFL is making such a big stink of it because, they don't want the players dipping into their little trough of gambling. They've got all these stupid ass rules now.
You don't want players.
I don't have a problem with a player gambling.
I have a problem. I have a problem with players gambling on the game itself, that they play in. That's a problem. Okay.
Probably in season
out there gambling. It's not a healthy thing if guys are gambling on their own sport. Okay, and it's a problem enough if they're gambling and they're losing. The report that there's some star player who lost $8 million. That's a problem. Okay, for the league, it's a bad look, and it's unhealthy for guys to be in bed with gamblers. But it's also not the same thing as when Art Schlichter was placing bets with a bookie back in 1982. And was in for what, $700,000 that in 1 year,
making bets with Woody Hayes too.
Right, and the problem with that one was that it was not legal at the time. And you would worry about illegal bettors, illegal bookmakers leaning on a guy to throw a game. That's when you really start to worry about the game, and that's the thing that the league is scared out of their minds about, is the idea that somebody might throw a game.
Were you okay with Calvin Ridley's suspension of a full year?
No, I thought it was too much. I thought it was too heavy-handed.
Okay.
I thought half a year, or I thought 4 to 8 games.
You think they used him to make a point?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean they want, and they may have to do it again with somebody else, because ultimately I don't think the players get it. I don't think they understand what's legal or not legal. Okay, now they may learn it, and it's going to take vigilance for guys to know what they can and can't bet on. But I think I would estimate that
I would thought maybe half the season, 6 games, probably somewhere between 6 and 8.
Yeah, right. Would have sent the same statement. I would also say this. Look, I think that probably about 60% of the players gamble on sports. I mean, you've been in a locker room on a daily, more hours than I have, but I've been in a locker room a lot of time, and I've sort of, you talk to guys and you get a sense of what they, what they like to do and whether they gamble or not. I would
Jason, I'll
say
tell you exactly.
60% gamble in some level, whether it's 50
I'll tell you exactly.
$100.
Back in the day, maybe you remember that they used to have these yellow sheets where you could pick college football games and you could pick college games, and you would put a parlay together. Nobody was ever going to do that in the locker room, but you knew guys outside the area there, like in Tampa, and a guy would come up and go like this. Here's a sheet. A couple guys would have some sheets, and you'd bet $5, something like that, on 4 college football games over the weekend.
Yeah,
I never bet on any NFL games, though.
That's harmless stuff. I'm talking about guys who are betting, anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand. I would say there's, it might be slightly less than 60% than that, but it's not far removed, because you're just talking about a set of guys who, they're interested in sports, and they've got some, they've got extra money, laying around. They want a little, juice on games, but is most of it legal? I think by and large, 99% of it is legal. What you want is to make sure that 1% doesn't blow up in your face.
Jace, here's something that DeMarcus Lawrence said today, and I want to give you, I want your take on this. And he said that the Cowboys have closed the gap, and the gap between them and the Eagles is not that wide. Now, I phrased it this way, Jace. For the totality of the season, in my opinion, I think the Eagles are set up more to win the Super Bowl than what maybe the Cowboys are. But when it comes to head-to-head competition, Dak Prescott he's 8-3 versus the Eagles in his career. So he has tremendous success against some pretty good Eagle football teams. And I put a chart here together. In a game between the Eagles and Cowboys, who do you think has the advantage, Cowboys or Eagles, between Hurts and Dak? He's 8-3 versus that Eagle organization, or against that. Yeah.
What is it since Hurts has been the guy? That's my question.
I think he's 2-2.
Okay, so it's
smaller sample size.
Yeah, smaller sample size. Look, Dak is.
He threw for 5 touchdowns last year against the Eagles' number 2 defense. That's Dak Prescott.
Dak's a good quarterback. He's above league average. And I'll say this: he's probably a better pocket passer than Jalen. Jalen right now is a better overall player because he can hurt you in the running game, and I think that Jalen's going to close the gap in terms of being a pocket passer, and eventually
he's more consistent week in and week out.
Right. So I'd rather have everything that the Eagles have. If occasionally, because they know each other well enough, okay, the Cowboys split those games, or Dak has done well in the past and beaten the Eagles a few times. Okay, great. That's nice, the head to head. But if you don't look at those two teams and say the Eagles impress me, and say the Cowboys, okay, I'm waiting to see what they are. I just keep waiting to see. Like, we talk about this every year been talking about this forever, that the Cowboys always think that they're ready to print Super Bowl tickets when they win.
They've won 4 playoff games since 2000.
Right. Every time they have a winning record, it's like, okay, start planning your trip to the Super Bowl. Hey, wait a second. Could you just pump the brakes just a little bit? Just help me out here and say, how about you accomplish a few things first? How about you win your division? How about you get to the second round of the playoffs? How about you get to a conference championship? How about you do all these things? But it's a mentality, and I think it's all permeates with Jerry. Is Jerry takes small gains and projects them into, okay, we're now ready to become champions, and we're ready to parade ourselves and be the head of the league. And that mindset is just so dangerous for your team. But that's what Jerry does all the time.
Jace, these last 3 here, and I'm going to put them together here for this last question here. Do you think this is fair criticism of the 49ers? And I put 3 questions that the Niners have to answer, I think, to dethrone the Eagles as NFC champions. I said, can the coach protect the quarterback? Can he win big games, Kyle Shanahan? And can he call a game where you're seeing consistency week in and week out? Can Kyle Shanahan answer all 3 of those? Do you think in his time in San Francisco he's answered any one of those?
Oh, I think he's the best. He's maybe the best play caller in the league. So,
But what's the result of him?
Maybe Andy Reid's better. I mean, look, they got to an
To me, it
NFC
sounds like he's put his name on the test, Jason, hasn't passed the test.
I'm just telling you what I watch, and what I see is a guy who's a really high level play caller. And I would hire Kyle Shanahan to be my coach anytime. And now, that is not to say he is perfect, okay? Because he hasn't won a Super Bowl and he's got, he's made mistakes, okay? But I think the design of his offense, the way that he structured the team, the way he's built both the defense and the offense and how they complement each other, like they're really they're a great team, okay? And the fact that they got to their 3rd quarterback, and granted, the kid is gifted and different, okay, but he's still just, he's just a guy, right? I mean, he was a rookie out there playing, and if he doesn't get his arm snapped in half basically last year in the first half of that game, that's a heck of a playoff game between the 49ers and the Eagles. Now, so if we go back over it, yeah, did he not protect the quarterback? Was it not perfect? Yes. Does Kyle Shanahan fall in love with his play calling a little bit too much? Does he need what his old man had next to him, which was Alex Gibbs next to him, telling him run the ball, right? Does he need more of that at certain times? Yes. Is he perfect? No. But would I take that guy over, except for Reed and Belichick, and I'd have to think
How about
through
McVay?
it. I'd take him over McVay.
Wow.
I think no question in my mind.
McVay's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one at 36 years old.
I understand that, but I think Kyle Shannon's a better coach. I just really do believe that. And that's not to say McVay's any kind of slouch. I like what Shanahan does. Like I think McVay is a lot closer to being out the door.
I do too.
Kyle is, okay, and I think McVay is a burnout.
I think he wants to be the next Gruden, like in the
he
booth.
wants to. But just the money's not there to walk away from coaching yet. Yep. Okay, so let's just put it this way. I love Kyle Shanahan. That again, I see the imperfections of Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think he's had the perfect quarterback. And I think he's one of these guys who's always nitpicking his own quarterback. Okay, always looking for that perfect guy, and his dad had some of that too. But when he has the weapons all arranged and has a guy who knows what he wants to do, it's pretty sensational to watch. And Brock Purdy is so bright and knows how to make this thing function. If he's healthy, they got shot, especially in what's a depleted NFC. I'd look at it that way.
Absolutely. Folks, make sure you go to Amazon and get Jason's book. He is a must-read. He is my friend, and I love chopping it up with you, talking football, always. Hey, by the way, real quick, when do you guys put the list together for potential thought process?
I think July is when we get the first, like the 125 to 150 list. We already looked over one list, the really massive list, and it gets cut down to, like, again, 125, 150.
What is that number, Jason? Does it go 120, 50? Then you work the process.
It goes 125 to 25, and then 25 down to 15, and then the 15 get into
Holy cow!
It's not that hard. I'll say this: it's not.
But
I don't
Jason,
like to.
150 to 25, 125 to 150 to 50. That's a big drop.
Of course it is, but you're talking about. I
I
mean,
know.
it's not as hard as you think. Okay,
Yeah,
and
you're
that's
right.
not.
There's
I'm not
guys who
trying
just
to.
go like this. I don't think so.
Well, you get guys who just recently retired. Yeah, okay, they had a nice career, but he ain't making the Hall of Fame.
You
Like,
think McNabb's a Hall of Famer?
no, I thought he had a chance, and then the end of his career just went like that. Like, and it really shouldn't have. He wasn't that old at the end of his career, but he just nosedived at the end of his career. I thought he was on track to do that, but the numbers aren't explosive enough. They're not big enough. Like, it's not a Dan Fouts like career.
No.
Um,
36,
it's
I
not.
think 36 or
Yeah.
37,000 passing yards, 250 something.
It's a really
Yeah.
nice career. It's not quite there. I got a big thought like debate in my head, and unfortunately I haven't had to argue about this guy yet because he hasn't been removed from it long enough. But what
Eli.
happens when Philip Rivers? Eli, I've thought a lot about, but Philip Rivers.
I don't think Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
There are some days where I'm convinced absolutely not, and there are some days where I'm like, okay, I really want to hear the argument because
500 record. I mean, the
hey,
last
two Super Bowls in New York.
So did Plunkett.
I understand, but Plunkett also got.
I get it.
Plunkett's first 9 years in the league are.
Do you think Rivers?
And it's not Plunkett's fault. Okay?
No,
because he played for a really bad organization in New England, a horrendously bad organization, and then went to San Francisco when they were horrible too. That's an unfair one, but that's the way it goes. Like Archie Manning was a terrific player. He's never going to have a shot. Yeah, I mean, Archie Manning is a terrific player, but he's never.
How about Bledsoe versus Rivers?
Rivers. I don't think it's even much of a debate.
You think Rivers Hall of Famer?
I think it's close. I think it's really close. His numbers are up there, and I haven't put it in real perspective, measuring his numbers against other guys in the Hall of Fame.
Like, I always come back to modern day Dan Fouts.
That's the best comp. Like, is he really the modern day Dan Fouts? I have to look at it, because let's just say this: Philip Rivers played in what was the greatest era of quarterbacking in the history of the league, and some of that is the talent that played, the guys who played out there. The Bradys, the Mannings, all those guys. And some of it is the rules, okay, were structured to make it a passing game, okay? So I have to do a much deeper dive, but he's a really healthy discussion.
How about Frank Gore?
Yes, Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer.
Never the dominant running back, though, in any era, but he's third all time. Jace, how much do you put longevity as because look, you have
here. I'm going to put it in this perspective. I grew up in Los Angeles, a Dodgers fan, right? And Don Sutton was never a dominant pitcher, right? But he was always a solid number 3 starter, sometimes a number 2 starter, okay, but never lights out, no question, dominant number 1 starter. Right? I know this is baseball versus football, but Don Sutton took the ball every 5th day, sometimes every 4th.
300-game winner.
And won 324 games. This was as steady as they come for 24 years, right?
Can I ask you something on this?
Like, there's that counts for something.
How about this, Jace? Mm-hmm. Don Sutton had a better career than Sandy Koufax, but Sandy Koufax was a more dominant player over 6 years than any pitcher, especially lefty, in the game. And when you're looking at NFL guys who, like Terrell Davis or Gale Sayers in the past, I know you didn't vote on him, but Terrell Davis and those guys, is that how you put in perspective how you look at certain guys, because I think it's a fair way to look at someone's career. How dominant, like when you look at Koufax, you understand he only won 167 games in his career.
Yeah.
Frank Viola won more. And you would never go Frank Viola, Sandy Koufax. But you look at Koufax, and then you look at Don Sutton. Don Sutton was never Sandy Koufax, but he won 320 plus games. How do you like put those two together and go, well, this guy's a Hall of Famer, so is this guy.
They're not. You don't compare. You have to, like, there's a number of factors. It's a smell test. Okay. When you say Sandy Koufax is the left arm of God.
He sure is.
Okay. And for a period of time, there was no one who could touch him. Nobody. Okay. All right. It was just magical. Okay. And I was just a kid, all right, a little kid, but I've seen the highlights. I've read the books. It's just out of control how great he was. And then there's the flip side of guys who they're lunch pail guys. The lunch pail guys, they've got to be really good to great over a long, 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 long period of time to earn that stripe. Some guys have the magic. Terrell Davis had the magic that he demonstrated in the playoffs that was so dominant. I mean, he was on pace over 8 games. Terrell Davis had rushed for, I think, 1,100 yards. If you project that, that's 2,200 or 2,300 yards in a 16-game season in playoff caliber football against playoff teams, right?
Yeah.
He was dominating people in the playoffs and had 4 great seasons to go along with it. That's Hall of Fame material in my opinion.
Absolutely. Jace, real quick, I got to tell you real quick before we leave here. So I used to live in Heathrow, Orlando, and I'm running, and I see this guy coming my way, and I go back to my wife, and I go, I think I just saw Sandy Koufax. She's like, what? I run by, I see him again. And finally, I'm running. He notices, and I stopped him. I go, sir, are you Sandy Koufax? He goes, I listened to your show. Yes. I went, I said, you're Sandy Koufax. And he went like this. Yes. And I go, can I get you? He goes, I don't do any interviews. You know this. And I go, I had to ask though, but my God almighty, can you please sign this? And he goes, absolutely. I listened to you. I love you get Carlton Fisk. And dude, you should have seen me. I'm like a little kid, and I'm going, I'm telling you, that's Koufax.
Sandy, I mean, Jesus. People don't understand.
Hey, get this, Jason. Lasorda told me a story that they were preparing for the 81 World Series, and they had Sandy come in down to Dodger Town, down in the old where they used to be in Florida.
Yeah.
So finally, Garvey comes over to Lasorda and goes, hey, listen, can you please tell him we're trying to get some batting practice here? And so he's like 47 years old. And like Lasorda goes out to the mound and he goes like this, Sandy, saying these guys need some hits. They need to do some hitting. You're striking everybody. He goes, oh, okay, you're right. He's just throwing like hooks.
Oh yeah, let me throw this, and then I'll throw you a rising fastball in the 90s and stuff like that.
90s.
Yeah.
That's being kind. Hey, Jason.
I'll see you.
Always great talking to you, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right, dude. We'll talk to you later.
You got it, man. The great Jason Cole there too. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard. We had a ton of fun today, did we not? Yeah, man. Hey, get this. So, hey, I'm walking like this, and I go, that's Sandy Koufax. I know it is. I go to my wife and I go, excuse me, are you Sandy Koufax? Yeah. I went, get out of here. He started laughing. He goes, hey, I go, get out. Like I was a kid. I go, sir, man, can you sign my arm? I was just, dude, man, it was like meeting God when you met him, man. He was so unbelievable. Unreal, man. Guys, thank you guys so much for coming aboard. I totally appreciate it. Xander, Big Joe, Thank you guys so much. By the way, the great news about King of Prussia Hooters, that's going to be the new home for the National Football League show. National Football show this coming fall and such. We really appreciate that. Filling everybody. Tone, spectacular stuff as always. And he's going through the move and he's still doing the Big Sills show. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, Tone. 3 to 6 tomorrow. We'll see you on the flip side.